Let me tell you a little story. I didn't grow up wealthy. I wasn't born into comfort or ease, and nobody came knocking at my door offering me a shortcut to success. I didn't have a fancy pedigree or a network of high-level connections. What I did have was reality. Rent past due, cupboards half empty, the hum of uncertainty keeping me up at night. I remember one cold evening in particular. I sat alone in my little apartment, surrounded by the clutter of unfinished business, unopened bills, dreams I had yet to pursue. It hit me like a freight train, Jim. If you don't change, nothing changes. That sentence echoed in my mind and pierced straight through my complacency. That was the seed. I realized then that wealth wasn't something outside of me to be hunted. It was something within me to be cultivated. Real wealth starts on the inside. It's a mindset before it becomes money. It's an identity before it becomes income. That night, I chose to become the kind of man that wealth is attracted to. See, getting rich is not some magical act reserved for the lucky few. It's not about having a golden touch or being in the right place at the right time. Getting rich, in truth, is a matter of structure. It's mechanics. But here's the trap. People want the results of the mechanics without the foundation of the mindset. They want to know the steps, the tricks, the hacks, but they don't ask the deeper question, who must I become to sustain wealth? And because they skip this inner work, they sabotage themselves even when opportunity knocks. I learned early that wealth is not achieved, it is aligned with. And you align with it by transformation. When I started investing more into myself than into temporary pleasures, when I began feeding my mind with wisdom instead of feeding my distractions, when I held myself accountable to small promises, everything changed, not overnight. It was slow, or it was quiet, but it was unstoppable. Transformation is the furnace where wealth is forged. Let me give you something foundational, something timeless, your personal philosophy. I know it's tempting to look for tactics, blueprints, exact strategies, but if you're standing on shaky ground, even the most brilliant tactics will collapse under you. Your philosophy is the lens through which you interpret the world. It's your beliefs, your values, your way of responding to problems and opportunities alike. A man with the wrong philosophy can ruin the most promising business. Give a millionaire's playbook to someone with a poor mindset, and they'll still end up broke. But take that same struggling individual, give him a philosophy rooted in growth, discipline, and purpose, and he'll find a way to win even with the simplest plan. Why? Because wealth is driven by the mind, not the market. It begins internally long before it manifests externally. So don't just ask, what do I do? Ask, what do I believe? How do I think? Fix the philosophy, and you'll naturally fix the finances. Back when I worked at Sears, I spent my days selling tools and gadgets I had no emotional investment in to customers who were just passing time. It was a job, not a calling. And every 2 weeks I got my little paycheck and tried to stretch it across a life that was far too big for it. One day, my mentor looked me in the eye and asked, "Jim, what's your plan?" I told him, like many do, I'm hoping things will turn around. He didn't laugh. He didn't scold. He just said something that changed my life. Hope is not a strategy. That hit me like a bucket of cold water. You see, we're taught to hope. Hope the government fixes it. Hope the job gives you a raise. Hope someone rescues you. But wealth doesn't come to the hopeful. It comes to those who are intentional. From that day forward, I resolved to stop drifting through life. I chose to live by design, not by default. Now let's talk about value. This was one of the most liberating shifts in my understanding of money, that money does not respond to time, it responds to value. The world does not reward you based on how many hours you put in, how tired you feel at the end of the day, or how much effort you believe you gave. It rewards you based on the value you provide to others. That's it. You want more income? Don't count hours, count impact. You get paid for solving problems, for making someone else's life easier, better, smoother. But here's the secret sauce. You can't deliver more value until you become more valuable. That means working on yourself like you'd work on your business. Reading, studying, listening, growing. You are the real asset, not your resume, not your credentials, you. The more skilled you become, the more creative you become, the more resourceful you become, the more money naturally flows to you. Be the kind of person who adds undeniable value, and you'll never be broke again. Every dollar you earn is a silent applause for the service you rendered. It's the world's way of saying thank you for showing up with value. Your paycheck is not a gift. It's a receipt for the value you've created in the marketplace. Once I truly internalized that, I stopped wasting energy complaining about how little I was paid. I stopped pointing fingers at the company, the economy, or the customers. Instead, I turned inward and asked a bold question: have I earned more yet? That little word "yet" became my anchor. It reminded me that my current financial reality was not my ceiling. It was a reflection of where I was in my growth, not where I could be. If I wanted more, I had to become more. I needed to read more, serve more, listen more, build more. Because the money you earn will always trail behind the person you become. Grow yourself, and the income will catch up. People often come to me with this burning question: Jim, what's the best business to get into if I want to get rich? And my answer always surprises them. That's the wrong question. You see, it's not about the business, it's about the builder. The truth is, you could hand the same opportunity to 10 people, and only one might turn it into something profitable. Why? Because success doesn't flow from the opportunity, it flows from the operator. The right business in the hands of the wrong person will still fail, but the right person can make even a broken model work. The key to wealth is becoming someone that wealth sticks to. That means building character, developing discipline, acting with integrity. Traits that attract success no matter the market. Life is unpredictable. Economies change. Industries shift. But if you build yourself like a strong blade, you'll be ready for any battle. You don't have to predict the storm. Just be the one who's prepared when it arrives. Let's talk about discipline, because this is where dreams are either built or buried. I got rich, not because I always felt motivated, but because I stopped making decisions based on feelings. I began operating from standards. Let me tell you, I didn't always feel like getting up early, cracking open a book, or making that uncomfortable phone call. But I did it anyway. That's the difference. That's discipline. It's doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. Feelings are fickle. They change with the weather. But your standards? Those are rooted in who you choose to be. Wealth is born in the places where no one's watching. It's built in the late nights, the early mornings, the lonely hours where you're choosing growth over comfort. Most people want the reward but resist the routine. If you want to be rich, don't chase motivation, build discipline. Because the man who can govern himself doesn't need a boss, a deadline, or a crisis to take action. I call it the slight edge, and it's one of the most underestimated forces in the world. Here's the reality: failure doesn't happen in a single catastrophic moment. It's not one bad decision that ruins everything. It's thousands of small, silent neglects. The skipped workout, the unread book, the ignored call. On the flip side, success is not a lightning strike. It's not some viral moment or sudden windfall. It's the same small disciplines done over and over, compounding until the results become undeniable. I got rich not because I struck gold, but because I mined consistently. 5 minutes of reading daily, writing down goals, saying no to that unnecessary coffee, making that one extra sales call. It seems so small, too small to matter. But little by little becomes a lot. The compound effect works slowly until it doesn't. One day it explodes, and people call you an overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You earned it brick by brick. Let me give you one of the most powerful secrets to wealth: association. Who you spend time with matters more than you think. I didn't start moving up in life until I intentionally changed my circle. I had to stop letting broke-minded friends influence my decisions. I had to stop taking advice from people who weren't living the kind of life I wanted, not because they were bad people, but because their thinking was limiting. You absorb more than words from the people around you. You absorb their energy, their expectations, their norms. And if everyone in your circle thinks struggle is normal, if they laugh at discipline, if they scoff at ambition, it will slowly poison your own potential. I sought out mentors. I went where the winners were. I listened to people whose results spoke louder than their opinions. Why? Because poverty is contagious, but so is prosperity. Get around people who force you to grow and you'll never shrink again. Let's talk about learning, real learning. I got rich when I realized that education doesn't stop at graduation. You see, too many folks hang their hat on a diploma and think they're done. But here's the truth. Formal education might make you a living, but self-education, now that's what builds a fortune. I became obsessed with learning, not because someone made me, but because I saw the direct connection between what I knew and what I could do. I devoured books on sales, psychology, leadership, time management. I attended seminars, sat in the back taking furious notes. I watched and listened to successful people like my life depended on it, because it did. What I found was that wealthy people weren't necessarily the most gifted. They were just the most committed to growth. They studied while others slept. They practiced while others played. If you want to earn more, learn more. Your mind is your most valuable asset, and it compounds faster than money ever could. Let's clear something up about money, because I used to believe a lie, and maybe you do too. I thought money was evil, that rich people must be greedy or corrupt. I bought into the idea that having a lot meant you took from others. And as long as I believed that, guess what? I stayed broke. Because you will never attract what you secretly despise. Then I learned something liberating. Money is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's a tool, a mirror. It reflects you. If you're generous, money makes you more generous. If you're selfish, it amplifies that. If you're kind, it gives you the power to do more good. So don't fear money. Don't demonize it. Respect it or understand it. Prepare for it. If you mismanage a little, you'll mismanage a lot. But if you handle $10 with integrity, you'll handle $10,000 with wisdom. Wealth begins with a healthy relationship with money. Not fear, not guilt, but responsibility. Wealth loves clarity. It doesn't respond to vague dreams or fluffy wishes. It responds to specificity. I got rich when I stopped saying, I want to be rich, and started saying, I want to earn $10,000 a month by solving this problem for this kind of client. That's not just a wish, that's a plan. And a plan gives birth to action. Lose because they never take the time to define the win. They float through life with blurry goals and wonder why they can't hit the target. But you can't hit what you can't see. So I got detailed. I wrote goals so sharp they could cut through procrastination. I reviewed them daily. They weren't just in my head, they were in my heart, on my desk, on my mirror. Because when you define what you want and why you want it, the how starts to reveal itself. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates momentum. And momentum, well, that's where miracles happen. Let me give you a word that will forever shift your relationship with wealth. Service. That's right. Not strategy, not hustle. Service. I got rich when I stopped trying to manipulate, pressure, or persuade, and instead started helping people solve real problems, genuinely, consistently, enthusiastically. See, money is nothing but a thank you note for the value you bring to the world. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll never have to worry about what you want. That's not a cute saying, it's a principle. The universe moves in circles. What you give out comes back multiplied, so I fell in love with contribution. I became obsessed with usefulness. I asked every day, who can I help? How can I serve? And I served not just for profit, but with passion. People can feel that. It's magnetic. You want wealth? Find a way to serve people better, deeper, and more sincerely than anyone else. That's how you win, over time and for a lifetime. Here's a shift that changed everything for me. I stopped thinking like a consumer and started thinking like a producer. Let me explain. Consumers are always on the receiving end. They buy, watch, scroll, absorb. They're always reacting to what someone else created. But producers, they're the ones building the world. They write the books, they start the businesses, they make the decisions, they create the shows, not just binge watch them. Most people live their whole lives consuming what others have built, never realizing they have the power to build something themselves. I got rich when I started creating products, services, solutions I stopped trading time for money and started building equity. Equity is where freedom lives. You can only work so many hours in a day, but you can own something that works while you sleep. You want real wealth? Become a producer. Own assets. Create systems. Be the one people come to, not the one always chasing. That's how wealth works. Here's something you might not hear often. I got rich when I stopped needing to impress people. I didn't buy the fancy car first. I didn't upgrade the house. I invested in skills, in relationships, in assets. Delay gratification. Get rich quietly. Let your results speak louder than your spending. Financial success isn't about looking rich. It's about being free. And freedom starts when you stop trying to keep up with people who are secretly broke. I want you to write this down. Simple disciplines practiced daily lead to massive success. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. Wealth isn't a lightning strike. It's a sunrise, or slow, steady, inevitable, if you stay on the path. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 5 years. Start now. Start small. But start today. You know what else? I got rich when I embraced responsibility. No more blaming, no more pointing fingers, no more if only. I looked in the mirror and said, it's on you. That moment of personal accountability changed everything. Victims wait. Leaders work. The moment you stop waiting for someone to save you and start saving yourself is the moment you step into power. And power is the birthplace of prosperity. Let's end on this. I got rich when I finally believed I deserved it. That's the inner battle most people lose. They want wealth, but don't believe they're worthy of it. And life, my friend, will always pay you what you believe you're worth. So upgrade your beliefs. Speak abundance. Move like a person of value. Expect good things. Because when your inner story changes, your outer world follows. So here it is. Wealth is simple. Not always easy, but always simple. Start with your mind, then your habits, then your value, then your service. Stack it every day. I didn't get lucky. I got ready. When the opportunity came, I wasn't the same man. You want to get rich? Great. But don't just ask how to make money. Ask how to become a person who attracts it. That's the secret, and it starts today.